Welcome everybody to a brand new episode of Top to Bottom. In today's episode, we are going to be reviewing the new surprise Eminem album that dropped a few days ago. The album name is Music to Be Murdered By, a 20-track full LP from none other than Marshall Mathers, Eminem. You know who he is. And in this series, if you're new to it, we take each track and we sort it out from worst to best. That's why it's called Top to Bottom. There are 17 actual music tracks on this album, and then there are 3 skits. We don't include the skits because obviously it's not music. If the skits are significant enough to mention in the video, I will, but for the sake of this album, they really aren't, so I'm going to be skipping over them. So without further ado, let's hop straight into it. In the number 17 spot, I'm going to be placing Little Engine. This, in my opinion, is the worst song in the album. One good thing I can say about this song is that the instrumental is very fitting to the idea, the theme of the album. It's very unsettling. However, in my opinion, Eminem's flow doesn't execute well on this song like it does on other tracks. Some of the wordplay on this song is corny as hell, but he probably does that intentionally. But the worst part about this entire track, in my opinion, is the chorus. The way he plays around with his vocal inflections and the way he handles the chorus, the delivery, reminds me a lot of Venom off of his last project, Kamikaze. And if you guys know, I did review Kamikaze. That is my least favorite song in the album. I don't like what he did with his voice on this track. I'm just not a fan of the way it sounds. The whole legend go, it just reminds me a lot of Venom, and it doesn't work for me. I just don't like it. It's the worst song in the album in my opinion. The song does sound very Relapse-like though, I will say, but even then, I don't think it would be a good song even on that album. I just think it's very relapsey. In the 16th spot, we have Stepdad. The whole idea of this song is it's Marshall telling a story about his stepdad and how much he hates him. The song is funny at times. It is quite easy to understand as well. It's easy to follow along with what he's saying, but it is a little bit one-dimensional. After the first verse, we go into the chorus, and it is easily one of the worst choruses on this entire album. Hey, my stepdad. It's delivered so obnoxiously and childishly that it just, I can't deal with it. It's really bad. The verses aren't anything terrible, and they are very Slim Shady-like, but for some reason, it just doesn't really land with me. I don't really get a lot from this track just off of the verses, and it also has that extremely obnoxious hook that I don't like, so it's just a skipper for me. I don't like this track. Up next, in the 15th spot, we have Those Kind of Nights. Initially, I was really put off when I saw that Ed Sheeran was featured on this song because he featured on the song River off of Revival, and we all know how Revival went, and we all know how that song went. Now, luckily, I will say that I don't think this song is as bad as River, or at least not as corny as it. The first few times I listened to it, I really hated it. I didn't like it, but now I do think it is bearable. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it, but I can at least listen to it. Ed singing on this track isn't entirely horrible, but it could work in a party environment. Eminem's verses are okay too. They're not anything special, but they do get a little bit annoying at times with his delivery. Some of the wordplay is a little corny, and the lyrics occasionally get really cringy as well. Overall, the song is a skipper for me, but as I said earlier, I think it could work in a party environment. One other thing I'll add is that it does not belong on this album whatsoever. It's so out of place on this album. I feel like he should have put this on a different project or maybe just released it as a single. I don't mind the track per se, but I don't exactly get anything from it either, so I just sort of skip it. It's not really important to me. It's just sort of there on the album. In the 14th spot, we have Marsh. This song is really bad, but it almost in a way redeems itself because it is hilariously bad. The intro intentionally has some of the cringiest and corniest wordplay I have ever heard from M. He has an intro to this song and he says, "My name is Marsh and this world I'm out of it. Because with all this ABC shit, I'm starting to sound like Alphabet." Yeah, it's really terrible. But then again, as I said, I think he did this intentionally because afterwards he says, "Ha, I kill me." So he's probably pretty aware that he just delivered one of the most elementary bars ever. Eminem is kind of goofing off on the verses and just being mostly dumb. The hook, again, is just hilariously bad. The vocal inflections that he goes into is like, I just can't wrap my head around it. "My name is Martian. I'm out this world." Also, I never thought in my entire life that we would hear ad-libs such as, "It's lit! on an Eminem song, but here we are, and it is so bad that it's almost good. The song is a skipper for me, but if I want to have a good chuckle, I'll leave it on just so I can sort of laugh at how ridiculous it is. Up next, we have the song I Will. This song basically reunites the whole Slaughterhouse group, but without Joe Budden, mainly because Joe is one, retired from rapping, and two, he sort of had a little bit of a rocky relationship with Eminem in the past. But the rest of the crew is here, featuring King Crooked, Royce, and Joel Ortiz. Royce takes the first verse and he does a good job at that. Eminem handles the hook and does a decent job at that too. The hook, for some reason, reminds me of the song Phenomenal that Eminem did a long time ago. Crooked's verse is nice and adds to the atmosphere of the creepy instrumental. Joel's verse is decent, but Eminem easily has the best verse as his flow is consistently solid and his rhymes are on point. Overall, this track is a little bit repetitive with the chorus, but it is a decent closer to the album. Up next in the 12th spot, we have In Too Deep. The song starts off badly, in my opinion, with Eminem's first few lines being delivered in a very annoying way. Luckily, it doesn't overstay its welcome, though, and he does eventually stop that. The track is a relationship cut about Eminem and this girl who are both cheating on their partners with each other. Eventually, Marshall starts to question who he's happier with, and the situation gets a little bit messy. The song did take a few listens for it to grow on me because initially I wasn't a huge fan of it, but over time the verses became a lot more compelling to me and I actually really enjoy the hook. I would say overall this is a decent track. In the 11th spot we have Farewell. The intro to this song is just hilarious. It starts off by Eminem saying, "For what it's worth, you were a slut at birth. If the world had a dick, you'd fuck the earth." This song is a goodbye song from what I believe to be Eminem and another chick that he's dating. The lyrics do get pretty funny at times, with Eminem saying that if he ever caught her sucking another dick, she better unsuck it. M's flow on this track is pretty nice and straightforward. The chorus took a while to grow on me, but I do enjoy it now. Verse 2 and 3 aren't anything special, they are just a little bit more of the same. One thing I will also say is that the song is a little bit basic. My favorite snippet of the song is actually the outro, which I wish played a little bit of a bigger role in the song as it's really catchy. It's a nice song, but overall I wouldn't say it's anything amazing. And finally, we're in the top 10, and at the number 10 spot we have Never Love Again. This is another track that had to grow on me with repeat listens of the album. At first, I just thought it was your average heartbreak song, but it turns out to actually be quite an emotional piece by Marshall. Yes, it does appear to be a song about heartbreak, and it suffers in the same way as Farewell in that it is a little bit basic. The song is still enjoyable though. The chorus did take a little bit to grow on me, but now I do enjoy it. The instrumental changes multiple times throughout the song, going from more aggressive to more gentle depending on what type of emotion is trying to be conveyed. Towards the second half of the song, we actually pick up on the fact that Marshall is not rapping about a girl, but instead he's actually rapping about the drugs that he was addicted to. The way he disguises his lines to describe his drug use is just pure genius, because it can often be misinterpreted as something that he's saying about his partner. On this song, Eminem is drawing parallels between heartbreak and his drug use, sort of blending the lines together and showing that the emotions that you feel are very similar. In the number 9 spot, we have You Gon' Learn. This song has a great beat with Royce on the first verse. He kills it and he just rhymes amazingly. White Good handles the chorus and it is very nice and catchy. Eminem does a good job in the verse and comes up with some really good wordplay. A line that I thought was really smart was, "I'm with a gal at the Checkers Wildin' bumpin' fuck the police while I fed her rallies." I don't have much to say about this one, but overall I would just say it's a really great track. In the number 8 spot, we have No Regrets. This is another pretty big highlight on the album for me. The chorus is sung by Don Toliver and almost makes this song feel like something that Post Malone would release. The second verse is the most interesting verse on this song and one of the most interesting verses on this whole album. Even though the song is called No Regrets, Eminem is basically apologizing to Tyler the Creator and Earl Sweatshirt for dissing them on Kamikaze, or at least for overreacting in the way that he did. He has a few lines dedicated to this and he says, "I can make a mistake and erupt and end up taking a dump or saying some dumb shit, thinking I run shit, misplacing my anger enough to give Earl and Tyler the Creator the brunt. Shoulda never made a response, shoulda just aimed for the fake one." So with these few lines, it shows that Eminem is remorseful and he feels bad in the way that he handled the whole situation, that he feels like he overreacted by taking shots at Tyler and Earl Sweatshirt. I'm quite glad to see that Eminem decided to take this route, as I would really like to see him collaborate with those two artists in the future. I think they could make some really good work. Overall, just a really great song, and it shows a level of maturity that I feel maybe he lacked a little bit on Kamikaze. In the number 7 spot, we have Ya Ya. This song is a posse cut featuring none other than Royce the 5'9", Black Thought, and Q-Tip. This song surprisingly actually took a few listens to grow on me as well, because initially I wasn't a huge fan of the bombastic and just over the top yahs on the hooks. But now I can say that I do enjoy it a lot more, especially with this boom bap instrumental that is produced by Denon. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. I could be wrong on that. I like the really alien-like production sprinkled throughout this track. Royce opens the first verse with an over-the-top callback to Das EFX's They Want EFX, with the opening line going bum stiggity. Royce kills the first verse with a sporadic but impressive flow. Following that, the chorus is handled by Q-Tip and Royce the 5'9". The hook is very catchy, and I like some of the ad-libs that are placed in the background while the chorus is going on. Sometimes you'll hear Royce in the background going, "Animals!" Black Thought's verse is amazing, but I mean, what can you really expect from one of the greatest rappers of all time? Eminem takes the final cut and delivers a mind-numbing verse with an insane rhyme scheme filled with ridiculous complexity. One line that I thought was really funny was when Eminem poked at MGK once more. He claimed that he got married to the game, impregnated it, and had a baby named Machine Gun Kelly, basically alluding to the fact that Eminem birthed MGK's career, because if it wasn't for someone as influential as Eminem, we might not have an MGK. Towards the end of his verse, Eminem shouts out many MCs, such as LL Cool J, Big L, Run DMC, Ice-T, Rakim, and a few members of NWA, and that's just to name a few. Just another fantastic track. In the number 6 spot, we have Godzilla. Eminem does something on this song that I generally don't like on other tracks, but for some reason it just works on this one. He does this sort of shouty, singing, rappy thing, like at the beginning of the song he goes, "I can swallow a bottle of alcohol and feel like Godzilla." On other songs, he does that shouty, singy, rappy thing, and it doesn't really work. I don't like it. I find it obnoxious, but on this song, I love it. I think it works perfectly. Eminem's first verse is very strong and has some really nice wordplay. Something that stuck out to me is, again, going over that line I said earlier, "I can swallow a bottle of alcohol and I'll feel like I'm Godzilla. Better hit the deck like a card dealer." Up next, we have the chorus, which is handled by an extremely unexpected feature. I never ever thought this person would feature on an Eminem song, but here we are. We get a feature from Juice WRLD. He handles the chorus, and this is one of the catchiest choruses I have heard from Eminem in a while. Juice's vocals are very well delivered, and they really add a lot of flavor to this track. On the final verse of the song, Eminem decides to flex how fast he can rap, and normally I wouldn't be like super impressed by this or anything, but it is actually kind of impressive just how fast he raps. I mean, it is actually kind of insane. He actually ended up breaking a world record with just how fast he was spitting. It's kind of crazy how fast he is rapping on this part and how clear he sounds as well, because a lot of people can rap fast, but they'll, slur their words and stuff, and it won't sound very clear, but Eminem just sounds so crisp, spitting every word very clearly at just this insane pace. Overall, I would consider this track to be a huge highlight on the album. And now we are in top 5 territory. At the number 5 spot, we have Leaving Heaven. This track starts off with what sounds like Eminem digging at the ground with a shovel. Gauging from the lyrics on the opening verse, we find out that he is digging somebody's body up, but we don't exactly know who yet at this point. Eminem's flow is complemented very nice with the instrumental of the song as well. Skylar Grey, when I initially saw the feature, I was a little worried about, because I was scared that this track was going to be some like over the top, just really corny song, but it is absolutely not that. Her verse is just delivered beautifully, and it is packed with so much emotion, and it adds so much to the story that is about to unfold in the following verses. In the second verse, Marshall touches on how he escaped the darkness of his childhood through writing and rapping. Finally, in the third verse, it gets revealed who he is digging up. In case you guys didn't know, Eminem's father ended up dying last year. I'm sure a lot of you guys know, even if you're not a huge fan of Eminem, his father wasn't there for him when he was a child. I believe his father left him when he was a newborn. And when Eminem's father passed away, we didn't get any comment from Eminem up until now when he's talking about it in this song. Eminem ruthlessly rips into his father with no remorse, calling him a coward and wishing that he could say fuck you to his face before he passed away. The song is brutal, especially towards the last leg of the song, where the chorus reintroduces itself one last time, and you can hear Eminem in the background aggressively saying how he should dig up his father's grave just so he can spit in his fucking face. This song, to me, almost feels like a sequel to Cleaning Out My Closet, or at least a sister song to it. In my opinion, it is also one of the best songs we've heard from Eminem in a very long time. Every time I hear this song, it just gives me goosebumps, but that also could be because I feel like I can relate to the track. Up next, we have the song Lock It Up. Oh boy, this song is my fucking shit. This song has one of the catchiest hooks in Eminem's whole discography, in my opinion. We have a feature from none other than Anderson .Paak. Anderson opens up the track and comes through with an incredibly slick verse. After Anderson, we have Eminem, who finishes up with 2 more verses. His flow perfectly complements the instrumental. I don't really have much to say about this track though, I just think it's amazing. In the 3rd spot, we have Premonition. This is the intro to the album, and a fantastic one at that. The eerie vocals at the beginning of the song are just chilling. There is an absolutely killer instrumental on this thing as well. The verses on this track did worry me a little bit, because I didn't want Eminem to make another album just dedicated to talking about people who didn't like Revival and all this and that. But luckily, this is the only song where he really focuses on this topic. It was just to say what he wanted to say, and then that was it. Eminem makes a lot of really good points, and I like his views on his career and how he currently feels. I can really sympathize with what he says. Overall, I would just say it's a perfect intro, and I'm just really glad that he didn't stretch out this topic from this song over the entire album. It was just one song, he says what he needs to say, and that was it. Perfect intro to the entire thing. I love it. Up next, in the number 2 spot, we have Darkness. This is the song that I have the most to talk about. The beat to this song starts off with very heavy bass and transitions into a skeletal but incredibly beautiful drum and bass instrumental, complemented with a gorgeous piano playing over it. The song starts off with the chorus repeating the phrase, "I don't want to be alone in the darkness," referencing back to the title of the track, and in my opinion is a perfect way to open it up. The song is inspired by The Sound of Silence by Simon and Garfunkel. Hopping into the first verse, we realize that Eminem is rapping about the Las Vegas shooting that happened a while back. In the opening verse, Eminem creates a fantastic sense of hopelessness with dark lyrics and depressing wordplay filled with double entendres, drawing parallels between his drug addiction and the shooter from the Las Vegas incident. He has lines such as, "Fuck the Colt 45, I'ma need something stronger. If I pop any caps, it better be off of vodka. Round after round after round, I'm getting loaded. That's a lot of shots, huh?" So basically he's talking about his addiction. A Colt 45 could be a weapon, it could be a drink. He's gonna need something stronger, either a drink or a stronger weapon. If he pops any caps, if he's shooting, or if he's popping any caps off of the top of bottles. Fantastic wordplay on this. Round after round after round, like rounds of vodka when you're drinking or when you're shooting a weapon. And of course, that's a lot of shots. That's pretty obvious. It speaks for itself. The second verse dives deeper into the mind of the person he is trying to paint a picture of, talking about the thought process of what he's going to do. To speak on the storytelling aspect of these verses, this is the best we've seen from Eminem in such a long time. There is absolutely nothing bad I can say about his ability to tell this story on this track. In fact, I would actually go as far as to say that it approaches, or it is almost as good as the storytelling we get on a song like Stan. In the final verse, we reach a climax where the shooter is now unloading rounds onto the helpless crowd below him. What's described in this final verse is the man's thought process right up to the point where he kills himself. This song is really tragic, and it speaks of a huge issue in the United States. I think it's fantastic that Eminem is using his platform to speak on these type of issues. This song, in my opinion, also embodies everything that Revival should have been, as in my opinion the execution is just phenomenal, and this song is extremely important in America's current climate. I would actually go as far as to say that this is one of the best songs Eminem has ever made. And finally, in the number 1 spot, we have Unaccommodating. This song has a really slick beat featuring young M.A. on the first verse. She kills it. People say that she sucked, but I really love her part personally. Eminem takes the spotlight though with incredible flow and great wordplay. He just does his thing on this track, and it is pretty amazing. He jabs at MGK on this as well with lyrics that suggest that he's a god over him and cleansed his soul after kill shots. My personal favorite part of the song though is where he is just flowing so nicely. It's the part where he's going 0 0 0, real real real, murder murder murder, kill kill kill. Oh, it just sounds so amazing. His flow, his speed, the way he matches up with the beat is all perfect. And in my opinion, it is a perfect follow-up track to the opener of this album. But yeah, guys, that has been pretty much it. That is my list of the worst songs on this album to the best songs. The only thing we have left to do is to score this album. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm feeling anything between a 7 and an 8. I thought this was an incredibly solid project from Eminem. I initially thought that I liked Kamikaze a little bit more, but now, after reviewing the album, making my notes, and really going in depth of what makes this album click with me, I have actually realized that I like this album more than Kamikaze. I do think this is a slight improvement over that album. I know a lot of people didn't like Kamikaze, and some people might hear, what, slight improvement? I know that a lot of people didn't like the album, but I personally did. I scored the album a 7 when I reviewed it. However, I wouldn't want to give this album a 7. I wouldn't want to give it the same score as Kamikaze because I do think it is a little bit better. But at the same time, I don't want to give it an 8 because I don't think it's an 8. I don't think it's that amazing of an album. I just think it's a very solid project from Eminem, especially at this point in his discography where he is not producing the best music. He is not producing music that is up to par with what he used to put out. But I feel this is incredibly solid, and so I'll give it somewhere between a 7 and an 8. I'll give it a 7.5. 7.5 out of 10. I think that's a fair score. And that's how I'm feeling about it. Incredibly solid project in my opinion, and I'm just glad it wasn't disappointing. I'm just happy he didn't release something that was as bad as Revival. This is way better than that album, and a lot of people also think that this is way better than Kamikaze. Of course, I'm not in that crowd, but I do think it's an improvement, and I think it is some of the best work that Eminem has done in a very long time, probably since the Marshall Mathers LP 2. So that's pretty much it. Eminem, Music to be Murdered by, top to bottom, finished. I'm gonna wrap this video up here. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the end of the video. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you smack the like button. If you want to stay up to date with my content, please be sure to subscribe and ring the bell so that you're notified of when my videos go up. I'll have my last video in the corner. If you haven't checked that out already, definitely make sure to check it out. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.